In 22 BBY, shortly before the outbreak of the Clone Wars, the corporate factions of the Separatist Council pulled their military resources together under the banner of the CIS, forming the largest fighting force in the history of the galaxy. This force was the CIS Droid Army, a massive horde of battle droids that, through 3 years of war, would swell to a truly frightening size thanks to constant mass production across 1,000 mech worlds. But while the battle droids of the Confederacy of Independent Systems were certainly the most well-known of their kind, they were far from the first. Battle droids had a long and bloody history in the Star Wars universe, one even longer than the Republic, and in this video we're going to dive right into it.
Attention, Sergeant on deck!
Battle droids, or in formal terms, 4th degree droids, were some of the first droids created. The very first droids were what were known as 5th degree droids, droids designed for menial, low-skill tasks who were largely intended to take over jobs that organics found distasteful, unpleasant, or dangerous. Combat droids were the logical next step from this, as warfare was something that often proved distasteful, unpleasant, and dangerous, and it wasn't all that hard to take a worker drone and strap a blaster or two to it. It's unknown when the first 4th degree droids came into being, but it was long before the formation of the Republic. The oldest 4th degree droids that we know of were Rakata Guardian droids, spider-like drones that the Rakata used as guards and overseers in the many monuments their infinite empire built across the galaxy. These weren't exactly battle droids per se, since they weren't intended to be used as soldiers on the front lines. The bloodthirsty Rakata preferred to fight their own battles and instead used these droids for combat tasks they considered beneath them. Nonetheless, the Guardian droids were still used for combat, making them the ancestors, at least, of modern battle droids. Something to understand about droids, and indeed most technology in the Star Wars universe, is that they were never really invented by the civilizations of the Republic. They were stolen from the Rakata. Everything from droids to blasters to even the hyperdrive was invented by the Rakata, who inadvertently spread their technology across the galaxy through the Infinite Empire. When the Infinite Empire collapsed and its former slaves drove off the Rakatan overlords, they laid claim to what technology the Rakata left behind, reverse engineering it to make their own versions. This, for the record, is why technology in the Star Wars universe seemingly advances so slowly. For most of the history of the Old Republic, things like droids and blasters were improved upon at a snail's pace because scientists and engineers still didn't fully understand how they worked. As a result of this, many civilizations developed droids independently at around the same time, war droids among them. The first known proper battle droids were war droids designed on the Taiwanese during the time of Zim the Despot, the Guardian Corps. Zim was a Taiwanese pirate who built an empire out of the scattered human colonies in the Taiwan Cluster, a distant region of space in the Outer Rim about 100 years before the formation of the Republic. 25,102 years before the Battle of Yavin, Zim assembled a great war fleet and set out to conquer even more of the Rim, only to encounter the Hutt Empire, which did not take kindly to would-be conquerors. Upon finding himself at war with the Hutts, who, believe it or not, were a hardy warrior race at the time, Zim quickly realized that the rank-and-file human soldiers he had previously been using weren't going to cut it. Thus, he commissioned what are believed to have been the very first battle droids. These absolute units were twice the size of their human counterparts and incorporated all sorts of advanced tech, or at least what was advanced at the time. This included heavy armor gilded with energy reflective Kyrium, powerful pulse wave cannons, heat beams and particle discharges, and their own dedicated power generators. They looked pretty snazzy too. Elite units were painted gold or crimson, and all of Zim's war droids had his personal insignia, a stylized human skull emblazoned on their chest plates. Unfortunately for Zim and this early droid army, the Hutts had a counter to Zim's advances in warfare. Where the Taiwanese chose the complicated route of inventing the battle droid, the Hutts chose the simpler route of contractually enslaving 3 entire species and sending them into battle. Hordes of Clotonians, Nikto, and Vodrans ultimately bested Zim's battle droids, leading to the defeat of the Taiwanese and the fragmentation of their empire. The Hutts claimed Zim's war droids as trophies, and even by the time of the Empire, thousands of them were still on display in public places across Hutt space. During the Yuzan Vong War, the Vong discovered that they weren't actually on display at all. they were still fully functional after 25,000 years, and when the Vong attacked Nal Hutta, the ancient constructs came to life and fought back. When exactly combat droids became a thing in the Republic isn't known, but it's possible they came about after the Young Republic conquered the Tyon cluster in 23,900 BBY. It's also possible that the Republic developed them independently. Either way, the battle droids were a mainstay of the Republic army for quite a long time. We actually did a whole video on the Republic's battle droids recently, and if you want a more in-depth look into that, we suggest you check it out. But to summarize, it was under the Republic that battle droids started to take more recognizable forms. The most common Old Republic battle droids were the rank-and-file Sentinel droids and the more threatening Juggernaut war droids. Sentinel droids were a mainstay of the Republic army during the Mandalorian Wars and the Jedi Civil War, deployed in the hundreds to make up for shortages of organic soldiers. Juggernauts, on the other hand, were elite units that served the Republic for about 1,000 years following the Great Hyperspace War. These memorable droids were equipped with jetpacks, a variety of heavy weapons, and incredibly advanced logic modules, which, all told, allowed them to work effectively alongside the Republic rocket jumper core. But their intelligence ultimately proved to be a danger as well as an asset for the Republic, as the Great Droid Revolution showed. By 4015 BBY, droids had become quite advanced. By that point, the Republic had come to fully understand and surpass Rakata droid technology, and new droids were rapidly becoming smarter and more capable. But these advancements backfired. In that year, the assassin droid HK-01 called for droids to rise up and kill their meatbag masters, and many droids answered the call. The Juggernaut war droids, in particular, tried to make like the Cylons and wipe out humanity. One of the most well-known clashes of the Great Droid Revolution, as the conflict came to be called, was between them and their former rocket jumper comrades above Coruscant's government district, a battle the droids won. Thanks to the Jedi, the Great Droid Revolution was stopped, and in its aftermath, the advancement of droid technology, especially battle droid technology, was halted and even walked back a few steps in some cases. The Republic tried to phase battle droids out of the Republic army, as many Republic citizens had become virulently anti-droid. Though slowly but surely, battle droids crawled back toward dominance in the Republic, and advancements in combat droid tech were made by other factions as well. During the Great Sith War, the Krath, a dark side cult that was a member of the Brotherhood of the Sith, made extensive use of the infamous Krath war droid, one of the most advanced battle droids of the time. These imposing droids were fast, ruthless, and capable of assimilating the battle tactics of their opponents in seconds. In combat, they used pulse wave bows and short swords, and they were so effective that, 4,000 years later, their designs were used as the basis for the IG-100 Magna Guard and Grievous's own cybernetic frame. Other non-Republic battle droids included the Sky Troopers of the Eternal Empire. The Eternal Empire, otherwise known as the Empire of Zakul, had an army composed almost entirely of these fearsome battle droids, which featured inbuilt jetpacks and were equipped with blaster rifles, flamethrowers, and other weapons. These simple but effective units were a large part of the reason why the Empire was able to best both the Galactic Republic and the Sith Empire, despite starting out with just a scattering of planets. After the end of the old Sith Wars, battle droids continued to advance, and again, they started to become prevalent in the Republic army. Use of them fell off once more during the New Sith Wars due to the onset of the Republic Dark Age, but after the Ruusan reformations and the dawn of the Golden Age of the Republic, combat droid technology yet again saw a resurgence. This time, they became the soldiers of choice for the power-hungry megacorporations, most notably the Trade Federation. Many corporate factions chose to use battle droids instead of organic soldiers because they wouldn't object to certain unethical decisions. This was crucial, as most of these armies existed to quell strikes and internal rebellions over such policies. Under the Republic, battle droids had more or less reached the peak of how deadly, intelligent, and maneuverable they could be, but it was the influence of the megacorporations that made the final innovation, one that allowed battle droids to become dominant: mass production. Previously, the Republic army had deployed battle droids en masse, but not quite in the numbers seen during the Clone Wars. The Confederacy's massive hordes of battle droids became possible due to corporate corner cutting, essentially. It was the cheapness of the Trade Federation and the other factions that led droid makers to design cheaper, mass-producible models. While this might seem like a step backwards, as the battle droids that resulted from these innovations were flimsy and easy to defeat, these were huge advancements in reality. In fact, they were what enabled battle droids to finally rival organic soldiers. Any droid that would actually be able to rival organics one-on-one would be prohibitively expensive, as the Republic had found. And so instead of trying to make droids that outperformed organics, droid makers designed droids to consistently outnumber organics. The result of this breakthrough in battle droid design was the Confederate Droid Army, the largest fighting force in galactic history. Were it not for Darth Sidious, this colossal army would have easily swept the Republic into the dustbin of history, and even though the Confederacy did ultimately lose the war, its battle droids nonetheless made a lasting mark on the galaxy. So that was the story of how battle droids came to dominate the galaxy. But what do you think? Would you like to hear more about any of the droid eras we mentioned here today? Let us know which one you find most interesting. And just before you go, guys, if you want to jam out to the beats we use in the background of these videos, unobstructed by my voice, then check out the Relax Jack music channel, where you can check out all these beats and use them for your own creative projects too. And if you want to join our wider community, check us out on our Geetsly's Discord, where you can chat to myself and other Star Wars fans, and our Geetsly's Gaming Network, where you can play games with other Star Wars fans. Anyways, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.